Florida did the right thing by retaining Billy Napier.
You are Locked On College Football, smothered and covered, with your host, Barrett Sallee. Your one-stop shop for everything college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome into this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. My name is Barrett Sallee. Appreciate you checking out the show. This show brought to you by FanDuel. You can start this season with a big-time return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed if you win that first bet. That's right. Win your first $5 bet, you get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com today. We do have breaking news, big news in the SEC. Florida head coach Billy Napier has been retained. Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland sent an email out to Gator Nation today. Billy Napier is staying as the head coach of the Florida Gators. Florida's doing the right thing here, folks. Florida is doing the right thing. Here's the email if you did not see it. We can go through Billy Napier's head, go blah, 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 whatever. If you can read it, I'll give it plenty of time if you're watching on YouTube so you can see it. But the gist of it for those listening on audio is that as we've seen over the past several weeks, Strickland says the young men on this team represent what it means to be a Gator. Their resolve, effort, and execution are evident in their performance and growth each week, building a foundation that promises greater success next season and beyond. Now, the very important part of that letter to Gator Nation is the word foundation. Foundation is the key part of what Billy Napier has done this season. No, it has not been a great season, and they may not win another game outside of the Florida State game for the rest of the season. It does not matter. When you go through Graham Mertz, DJ Lagway, and you're on a third-string quarterback against your biggest rival in Georgia, and you damn near win the football game, that is a testament to your head coach. That's a reflection on the culture that Billy Napier has created. And it's proof that Billy Napier needs to stay. Now, we can talk about DJ Lagway and whether he's going to play, whether he's not going to play, what the future is, whatever. If DJ Lagway had stayed in that game against Georgia, Florida would have won that game. I know if, ands, or buts, or whatever, you can't prove that. I can't prove that, but I believe that. I believe that. And what it did was give Florida fans, Scott Strickland, anybody else within that program, a glimpse of the future, a glimpse of what can be. DJ Lagway is Billy Napier's prize recruit. He hasn't done an awful lot in terms of quarters, passes, game time, but what we've seen from DJ Lagway is that he can handle the responsibility and that he can lead Florida back to being relevant in the SEC. Doesn't matter that he got injured. Doesn't matter that Florida might tank the rest of the season. The glimpse, the glimmer of hope, the recognition that whatever Billy was doing wrong has been addressed and has been fixed is exactly why Scott Strickland chose to retain him. This Florida team right now is way better than I think any of us thought they'd be. Now, before the season, it was schedule. Florida's going to tank. Billy's going to be fired. And no, the record is not where it should be. But 6-6 records, 7-5 records, 5-7 records, 4-8 records, they're not built the same. And in this particular case with Florida, whatever happens down the stretch is acceptable, should be acceptable. And Scott Strickland told you today that it is acceptable. Let's look on the flip side. If Scott Strickland chose to fire Billy Napier, if Scott Strickland looked at his team and said, you know what, I don't care what you guys did down the stretch. I don't care what adversity you had to face, bad luck, all that stuff, and he fired Billy, Lagway would be right out the door. And it's not just him. It would be a ton, mass exodus off that roster. Because as we've seen, they play hard for him. As we've seen, those players are dedicated to him. They like him. They feel like they can be successful with him. So if that's the foundation, if in a walk year, a critical year, you've got players playing their asses off for you, then that proves that you're a good coach. And that's exactly what has happened with Florida this year. And again, I don't care about the final record. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Maybe a win over Florida State matters. We'll put that disclaimer on there. But Florida's on the come up. Billy Napier brought them there. Billy Napier deserves to continue building this program. And if you're Florida, and I think if you're Scott Strickland, I think the biggest thing about the perils and the problems that have faced Florida over the last 15 years are administrative. They're the desire to get back to what Spurrier did and what Meyer did. And that has created a short leash. And I'm not saying that Jim McElwain would have been successful had Florida kept him. I'm not saying that Will Muschamp would either. But think about what's happened at Florida, right? Spurrier, 3 years of Zook. Zook really wasn't that bad, right? Then Meyer does his thing. Muschamp, McElwain, Mullen, Napier. All of those guys had very short leashes. And what we saw at the end of each of their tenures was proof that they were declining. With Napier and with Florida, we've seen proof that they are building. And I go back to the letter that Scott Strickland sent today. The most important word is foundation. It didn't happen over the last 2 years, but it did happen this season. So good for Florida. They deserve it. They deserve Billy Napier. Billy Napier deserves to have another chance. And I said going into the season, they don't want to fire him. They want to keep him. And he's given them every reason to retain him. Today's show brought to you by Hims. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously. We always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you the boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have time to go to a doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through Hims, you can get a personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. If you need a little boost in the bedroom, it's time you stop worrying about your performance and get Hims so you can feel confident knowing you get hard and stay hard whenever you're in the mood. Start for a free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon, hims.com/lockedon, hims.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved for or verified for safety and effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with the healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. We're also brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet cashes in. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can see live play-by-play, live stats, all right there on the same page. You place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com today. FanDuel.com today. Again, you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. Okay, so it is time to tell you whose time it is to shine. That's right. Every Thursday, we do Time to Shine, and there are a lot of people who need to shine this week in the world of college football. And we're going to start with the guy who everybody talks about, everybody loves, everybody knows, and of course, it is Shedeur Sanders. Now, I never thought I'd say this. I never thought it would be possible. But Colorado is not only in the Big 12 championship race, they're in the college football playoff championship race. I'm going to say it again because I don't believe it when I say it sometimes. Colorado is not only in the Big 12 championship race, but it's in the college football playoff championship race. But it's Shedeur Sanders' time to shine. Why? Because they're playing a Texas Tech team with a ton of confidence after beating Iowa State. It is in Lubbock. What do we know about Lubbock? Weird things happen there. Quite a bit. Weird things happen in Lubbock, Texas. So this is a pressure. This is the kind of pressure that Shedeur Sanders has never faced. Sure, Colorado's been the hunted. Even when they're not successful, Colorado has been the hunted. Teams look at that program and like, I'm going to knock them down a peg. Deion Sanders, he's overrated. Shedeur Sanders, not that good. Travis Hunter, we're going to target him just like we saw against Colorado State in Game 3 last season. So Colorado's used to having a target on its back, but not this kind of target. Not a target that is built on success. Not a target that others see as the ability to cause chaos in a conference. This is Colorado's toughest game from here on out. You got a Texas Tech team riding high, one that's been flying under the radar all year. I mean, not a lot of people have talked about Texas Tech. That's a damn good football team. So Shedeur Sanders, it is your time to shine. If you don't, then I think it knocks Colorado out of the Big 12 title race and certainly would knock them out of the college football playoff race. And I never thought, like I said, we'd be sitting here on November 7th talking about any team in the country knocking Colorado out of the college football playoff race. Yep, here we are. Also, here we are. Trevor Etienne. Georgia running game in particular, but Trevor Etienne. Going to Ole Miss in a massive game where you're flawed, right? Georgia's offense has been flawed all season. But now, Carson Beck is a massive liability. 11 interceptions over the last 5 games. Trying too hard. Why is he trying too hard? Well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. He doesn't have a running game. He doesn't have any help. He doesn't really have help from his wide receivers. But if you get a running game, then everything opens up in the passing game. And maybe Carson Beck is not forcing every single throw. So that's one aspect. That's one reason why Trevor Etienne and the Georgia rushing attack has to shine. The other, though, if you watched yesterday's show, you saw that Jackson Dart was the Roy Player of the Week. Jackson Dart with confidence is scary. Jackson Dart with weapons all around him is terrifying. So now he's got confidence. Now he looks around and says, wow, this is the offense that we thought it would be. And so the last thing that Georgia needs is to see that ball in Jackson Dart's hand. So how do you fix that? Long, sustained, slow, ugly drives. Not giving Carson Beck too much of the offense, which is so weird to say considering he was a Heisman Trophy favorite. Keep Jackson Dart on the sideline. So it's twofold for Trevor Etienne and that Georgia rushing attack. You need to give Carson Beck some help by running the football, and you also need to keep Jackson Dart on that sideline. So running backs, Georgia rushing attack, Trevor Etienne, all of it, your time to shine. Kalen DeBoer, also your time to shine. There's no discipline at Alabama. If you can point to one reason why this team has struggled by Alabama standards, it's the lack of discipline. Penalties, irresponsibility, confusion. And that's why it's important for Kalen DeBoer to shine. After an off week, you always do your best self-scouting. You're going to Death Valley. If you have a lack of discipline, Death Valley is probably the last place you want to play, and yet Alabama's going there. So he had a week off. A week off to hit the reset button. A week off to execute and implement something that he said a few weeks ago about his players showing up on time to meetings. Let me tell you, if players showed up late to meetings under Nick Saban, they might be murdered. They might be murdered. So Kalen DeBoer has to prove that he can provide and implement the kind of discipline that this team needs to be successful. And it's an elimination game. Make no mistake, Alabama versus LSU is an elimination game. Last one, Riley Leonard. I've become a big fan of Riley Leonard. Saw him play a few weeks ago against Georgia Tech. He's fixed his problems. They've given him more responsibilities in the passing game. I think Mike Denbrock was a little reluctant to do that, as Riley came off his injury. And now they're playing Florida State. I don't care that Florida State is a disaster. I want to see Notre Dame run it up like the Titans did in Remember the Titans. Run it up, Herman. Leave no doubt. Look, Notre Dame's going to make the playoff if they win out, regardless. I don't care that they lost to Northern Illinois. But I want to see Riley Leonard prove that Notre Dame is capable of winning it. They're close, guys. I know Notre Dame is very polarizing. I get it. But they're still pretty damn good. They've started to fix their flaws. I just did the Joe Biden whisper into the microphone. I really apologize. That team's on the brink of being great by this year's standard, which is different than other seasons. We have to wrap our arms around that. And I want to see that development continue this weekend against a very, very bad Florida State team. And I think he can do it. I think it can happen. Hey, you guys, you're probably going to party this weekend. Probably going to party if you're in the Grove, if you're in Death Valley, if you're by Touchdown Jesus. Let me tell you about ZBiotics. It's a pre-alcohol drink. The world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle your rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted to a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol provides an enzyme to break this product down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Did this on Tuesday. A lot going on Tuesday. Wanted to make sure I was feeling good Wednesday for the show. Felt great. You guys saw it. Lots of energy. That's what I do here. Go to ZBiotics.com/LockedOnCollege, ZBiotics.com/LockedOnCollege to get 15% off your first order when you use that code LockedOnCollege at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to ZBiotics.com/LockedOnCollege, ZBiotics.com/LockedOnCollege. Use that code at checkout to get 15% off your purchase. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time. Tell you what, they got me tickets to a Luke Bryan concert this past summer. They got me tickets to an OAR concert a couple years ago when we kind of stumbled across that OAR to date night. It was awesome. We were like, oh, we'll go to OAR. Popped up the Game Time app. Perfect. Curated deals make it easier to find your best price on seats. Seats you can see before you buy. It's got the lowest price guarantee. So if event cancellations happen, and they happen from time to time, they got you protected. Job loss. If you lose some money, they got you covered there as well. They have all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LockedOnCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LockedOnCollege, LockedOnCollege, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. We have SEC picks. Go through them real quick. You see that record straight up 59-21 against the spread, 38-41 with the tie mixed in as well. Here are this week's. I'm going to say them. If you're watching, you can see them. Got Florida plus 21.5 at Texas. I don't care who's playing quarterback. I still think that Florida defense will keep Texas to a low-scoring game. 21.5 points, a 3-touchdown game gives me a Florida ticket that cashes. I will take that. Whether Florida keeps it close or slides in the back door, I will take the Gators. Georgia at Ole Miss. Ole Miss plus 2.5. Take the points. You won't need them. Ole Miss wins that game outright. They get Georgia into a shootout, and I can't believe I'm saying this. Georgia cannot compete in a shootout. South Carolina minus 3.5 at Vanderbilt. I'm not believing in Vanderbilt still. I think they're good. I don't think they're great. And after what we saw with South Carolina last week, I think getting into a quarterback battle with Diego Pavia, Lenore Sellers is perfectly fine with that. And certainly he can rely on Rocket Sanders as well. Alabama at LSU. LSU, take the 3. You won't need them. LSU will win that game outright. Better offense, more discipline, home field advantage. And I just don't think Alabama can prevent themselves from jumping off sides, holding penalties, doing stupid things. That's what Alabama does this year. Mississippi State plus 24 at Tennessee. It's a lot of points. Mississippi State's offense has been pretty decent lately. I'll take the Bulldogs. 24 is a big, big number. Tennessee struggles in the first half. So I don't think Mississippi State's going to keep it that close. But 24 is big and also gives you the opportunity to slide in that back door. And finally, Oklahoma minus 2.5 at Missouri. I think Oklahoma figured its offense out in the first half against Ole Miss. I don't trust Missouri. I think they're fading down the stretch. Take Oklahoma. I don't think either of these teams are very good, but I think they'll get it done. All right, some comments from viewers on the YouTube machine. Vance Williams. So does this confirm Florida are broke boys? This team is horribly coached. You are wrong, Vance. They're very well coached. When you get players in a horrible situation to play for you, play inspired, even when things aren't going your way and consistently haven't gone your way all year, I would say they are coached by somebody who was on the verge of being an elite coach. Not now, not next year, but I like Billy Napier. He's done a good job, and I think that will continue. Jerry Goodman, isn't this a he's our guy going forward message? Usually a precursor to getting axed. Okay, yeah, the vote of confidence sometimes does lead to that. I don't think it does in this situation because, like I said, this is more of a statement that long-term we believe in him, his vision, and his recruiting efforts. And I think also because they had the success, relative success last week before Lagway got hurt, it showed a lot of people, a lot of money men that, hey, you know what? Maybe we should capitalize on that. Yes, they lost. You're not going to beat Georgia with a Yale transfer at quarterback. I do think they would have beaten Georgia had Lagway not gotten hurt. I think there are a lot of people around that program, and I've talked to a lot of them who feel the same way. Vance building my ass. That's a weird sentence. All he did at Florida was beat the crap out of UK, and Georgia played around. I don't know if you've been actually watching Florida games. I don't know if you've been watching that at all. Vance Williams also say, how much is Billy Napier paying this wanker? I don't know if you're Europe. We don't use wanker in America. It's not American. But Billy Napier is not paying me. Although, if Billy does want to pay me, he knows me. He can text me, Billy, if you're watching, and I know you do sometimes because we've talked about it. If you do feel like paying me, I'm always open to bribes. Just send me a message, shoot me a text, and I will give you my Venmo account. Perfectly fine being bribed. Yes, I know it's unethical. Don't care. That'll do it for this edition. College Football Smothered and Covered. Thank you for making this your first listen every single day. Hey, for your second listen, go check out Locked On College Football. Go check out all the conference channels, all the individual teams as well. Everybody here in the Locked On Podcast Network does a great job, so go check them out. Also, if you want to text me, especially you, Vance Williams, who is apparently upset with things I said, go join the subtext group. Link below, whether you're watching or listening, look below. You can sign up. And you can text me. I can text you. We can talk about our lives. We can talk about football. We can talk about anything you want. So join that subtext group. The link is below. A little bit of an early show on Friday. We'll be driving to Oxford, Mississippi to catch Ole Miss and Georgia. So we'll talk to you Friday morning. Have a great Thursday.